Our witch word of the day today is Wilhelmina W. Witchypoo.
Oh my goodness, why do I feel like I know this?
I think we talked about her before, but she is the protagonist from HR Puff and Stuff.
That's right.
She was always out to steal the Freddy the magic flute from Jimmy.
These names.
I know, and I found out my aunt dressed as her once, and she showed us all these pictures, and she was all excited about it. But she's a pretty sexy witch with her big old thick eyebrows and her big old nose. Like, I just had to honor this bitch on her show.
All right, that's amazing.
You haven't even read that?
Wait, what are you doing with the book?
So he has the confidence to finish the story.
Hear now the words of the witches.
This is Kevin, and welcome to Words of the Witches, the Charmed podcast that will guide you through the lesser-known published material in the Charmed universe and decide how it fits into the grand narrative of the TV series.
All right, well, welcome to Words of the Witches, episode 68.
Oh.
Yeah, we are starting volume 4 of the comics, which means it's the last arc of season 9.
Oh my god.
And what's crazy, too, is this is coming out 2 days before the 2-year anniversary of the podcast.
Wow,
So,
it's already been that long?
I know, happy 2 years.
Wow, because I remember you started this podcast the same week we started hanging with the Hollowells, which was not that long after we started Marvelous Galaxy of Disney.
Yeah.
Wow.
Time is flying.
Yeah.
And by the time we finish season 9, we would have been doing these comics for 6 months.
Wow.
Isn't that
That's
crazy? It's like, whoa.
Yeah. Time flies when you're having fun with your friend
That's
Kevin.
True. Yeah, we're so cool. And I was going to have a nice giveaway for the 2 years because I did one for when we turned 1 year. But it's a crazy time for us both. I don't have time to work around a giveaway right now. So I'm probably going to save it for the 25th anniversary of Charmed later this year in October, or maybe for our 100th episode. One of those, we'll figure it out. So, but happy 2 years. Yay.
Yay.
So silence. I know. Surprise, surprise. We are going to cover season 9, issue 20. Yes. I do want to read the back of the volume 4, since we're starting volume 4. And it says, "We call upon the ancient power. It's been 6 months since the Charmed Ones reunited with their lost sister, and the world looks nothing like it did before. The magical community is powerless, while everyday humans can suddenly control magic. Earth is cut off from the heavens and the underworld, and the power of 3 has completely abandoned Piper, Phoebe, and Paige. What began as a weird magical glitch has quickly developed into a full-on crisis. The formerly powerless humans of the world are letting their new gifts go out of control. Neighbors are turning on one another, while the government is tracking down former magic users to find out what they know about the odd turn of events. Even worse, the Charmed Ones can't do a thing about it, since the one person that could help them has disappeared from their lives once again."
Kevin.
Sean!
I have a theory.
OMG!
This totally, in my mind, sets up the fact that a certain lost sister that we know of gave up her powers, and people without powers are gaining powers. So I wonder if a certain sister will be the key to helping save everybody.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? See, this is what I was getting at. I'm like, oh, if none of the magic people have powers, and no magic people do, then she'd be the only Charmed one with powers.
Yeah, that's... Ooh,
Isn't that
I'm
crazy?
excited.
Yeah,
I
see?
didn't care that it was lackluster at the end of that last one.
Right. So let's talk about the rundown of this issue. This was published March 22nd, 2012. It's called The Old Witcheroo. Season 9, episode 20, or issue 20. Written by Paul Ruditis. Artwork by Dean Kotz. Coloring by Falk. Just Falk. We have letters by Jim Campbell, edited by Matt Rogers, and we have our cover by David Seidman, which you so described last week. It has Piper in her Little Red Riding Hood cape, just like in Happily Ever After.
Mm-hmm.
She's holding the Melting Book of Shadows. We noticed the limp-horned unicorn, oh so flaccid.
Oh, so sad.
And the sad-looking leprechaun with his pot of gold and his colorless rainbow. No colors in his rainbow.
I just noticed a really almost subtle detail. I wonder if it's on purpose, but it looks like in the clouds behind the unicorn, it almost shows like the unicorn with a strong horn, and like in front of it is the sad horn unicorn. Do you see that? Am I grasping at straws?
Oh yeah, I do kind of see that. I don't think that was intentional, but it looks like they almost drew a nice unicorn there, and there's like the remnants of that. That's weird. How weird is that?
I just noticed. I don't think it's intentional because it's the unicorn's hair that would make like the eye.
Right.
But if that is intentional, that is such good detail.
So, and it's like secretly in the clouds. It's very minor, very hard to see if you're not looking for it. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And we have like little wilty fairy who's not sparkling. So this is to show you that the other magical community is like losing their magic.
Yeah, and again, I said this last week, but this is the most beautiful cover. Like, if this came in a poster, I might just purchase this because I love it so much. Well, page 1, I swear we've seen this picture before in one of the comics. Haven't we?
You would be correct. Look at this. It's almost a You Look Familiar moment, except it's on itself. This is a callback to issue 2, the very second issue. And this was done intentionally to be as a tribute to Dave Hoover, who has passed away since then. I remember there was a memoriam in one of the other issues past. We didn't cover the memoriam, but they made a memoriam. And now this is kind of going back to his original artwork. And even like the text here, Hallowell Manor, the lives have completely changed. It's very reminiscent of exactly what those dialogue bits were in that issue too. So.
That's cool. I like that they're honoring him that way.
Yeah.
Well, like Kevin said, in the text it says, Hallowell Manor. The lives of the charmed ones have completely turned upside down in the past 6 months. All that is about to change. At least that's what they hope.
Ta-da! There you go.
There you go.
So then we have page 2. Phoebe is in bed going, just like, oh my god! And like she's giving birth. Hard time, And and we have Coop by her side. You're like, you're doing great. It's gonna be okay. And then Phoebe is like, oh my god, I need an epidural.
I like your Phoebe pregnant voice.
Yeah. Get over me now! And then this is just creepy because Leo is acting as midwife with his wings all out. So he's like, just one more push, we're almost there. I'm like, ew! Get out of your wife's sister's vagina! Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't understand. Like, why is he the midwife? When Piper was giving birth on the dining room table, we had Phoebe and Paige acting as their midwives, and Phoebe single-handedly delivered Wyatt. And now we have Leo over here while the sisters are like outside the door. What is happening? For
Weird.
Sure. But the bottom panel then has Phoebe and Coop again. And she's like, I can't do this anymore. And then he's like, yes, you can. The baby is waiting to meet us. It's so cute. And then she's like, fine, but I'm never doing this again.
Oh, jeez.
Which is a lie because this is only her second kid, and we know they each have 3 kids. So she is going to be doing this again.
What a lying bitch.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't realize this was Leo at first. It was such a weird cut to him. I had to go back because they show him later with his wings out. It's like, oh, those are supposed to be his wings.
Yeah. It's like just like a shining beam of light behind him. He's like, you're doing fine. Let me put my fingers in there and deliver the baby. Just like, I don't understand.
I don't understand.
It's creeping me out. Why Leo?
I know. So much like we're used to from our Hollowell sisters on the next page, Paige and Piper and Henry are listening in to everything that's happening from behind the door. And Paige is like, yep, I remember that pain. And I love Henry's line. Have I mentioned to you how much I love you? And then we hear the baby crying, "Awah!" And Paige says, the newest member of the Warren line is here. And Piper's kind of like, guys, let's give her a minute. Let's not just like rush in and look at the baby. Like, let her rest. And then we get this creepy smile from Paige and Henry. They're like, really? Is she really saying this? Is she really saying this right now? And then Piper goes, "Tell, let's go. Come on, let's go in."
It's almost like doing like the Simpsons thing. Please.
Yeah.
So the next page, they do walk into the room, and Phoebe's like, "Look at the baby." She's like, "This is Parker. Look, Parker, your aunt and uncle have come to meet you." And then Piper's like, "Parker, I like it." But then Paige is like, "It was at the top of my list of P names that I gave you to try out." And Phoebe's like, "I know there's so many P names, right?" And then Coop takes a cigar and he gives Henry a cigar. He's like, "The baby's born. This is what men do when babies are born. Let's smoke our cigars." Like, I don't get it. You know what, Victor? Well, Daryl and Victor are both cigar smokers as well. We know that from the show. I know it's
why,
gross.
Dorian Gregory? I love you so much, but I don't want to kiss you after cigar smoking.
Yeah, he tried to get Leo to smoke with him, and he's like, "I don't smoke." He's like, "Okay," Victor. And Victor's like, "I'll take that. Let's go." But then Henry goes to Phoebe with his cigar. He's like, "Would the baby like a present?" And Phoebe's like, "You want to start the baby smoking already? What with the bad habits?" He's like, "No, watch. I got powers now, remember?" And then he turns the cigar into a cute little elephant toy.
Cute-ish.
And then he's like,
I like that.
Cute-ish, yeah. And he's like, "There you go. A tobacco-free, fuzzy, fun friend." And Phoebe's like, "You're really enjoying that new power, aren't you?" He's like, "Yeah, because I don't know how long it's going to last. I like being magical. Woohoo."
Yeah, it's different.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is our power play moment, too. I almost forgot.
Oh, yeah.
Power play.
Power play.
So today's power play is Henry's power. It's called transformation. And there's not much to say about this one, but transformation is the power to transform any object or being into something else. The effects of this power can only be undone by a user of the power. It's kind of a variant of projection. They're kind of bending reality in a way, but very isolated to a specific individual items. And it's happened a few times in this series. I think of like when Cole turns Daryl into a water cooler, or like when Phoebe, when she was under the spell of the Woogie, or under possession of the Woogie, she turned like her nails a different color, or she turned Piper's duck medallion into a live duck and things like that. So,
and when she turned that jerk into a turkey.
Well, that was with a spell and potion.
Oh,
that was
Right.
different.
Fine. I wanted to play too, but I guess not.
Yeah. Well, I think she did turn the wedding planners into Piper and Phoebe turned them into pigs.
What's funny is this was close to being my witch word of the day. I was going to use transfiguration from Harry Potter, but I changed it because I was excited by the other reference.
Aha, see? And you know what? There's also other powers that are similar to this but are different. There's transmutation, which is where you turn matter into a different kind of matter. So like, I'm going to make my floor meltable or something. I'm going to melt through my floor now because it's watery. Or transmogrification, where you can turn into an inanimate object. So you can, like what Ames did, he turned into a dark letter crossbow. And then shapeshifting is just a general term of all kinds of transforming. So that's, transforming into living things, glamoring, things like that. So yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Power play.
Power play. So on the next page, meanwhile, in the same room, a little ways away, Piper and Leo are talking, and Leo looks haggard. And Piper's like, "You did a great job, babe. You should get some rest." And he's like, "I didn't expect this to take so much out of me." And Piper says, "Another thing we have these damn wings to blame for." And he's like, "Yeah, they've been out these past 6 months. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm exhausted just all the time having these damn wings out." And Piper's like, "We'll find a way to get rid of the wings and fix everything that's wrong with the world while we're at it." So this is our first hint that, like, something's off. Something's not right here. So
Right,
our
besides
first
Henry
hint
having
was...
powers.
Yeah. Our first hint was Coop, and then now it's Leo's wings, and now we get the big kicker. So we see Paige and Phoebe, and Paige says, "I wish Prue could have been here." And Paige says, "Well, she's been kind of busy these days." And Phoebe says, "I know, I just hate how things are now." And then Phoebe looks at her baby and says, "I'm so sorry to bring you into this world at a time that I can't protect you with my magic. Because I don't got no magic, little Parker."
Yeah. Crazy.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And what's scary too is because we did learn that whenever Leo uses his wings, it's slowly draining his life energy. And so with it being out all the time, he's slowly dying when you think about it.
That's true. That's sad.
It's real sad. And then Prue's kind of busy these days, meaning, maybe she's the only one doing magical things. She's taking care of the world, all the charmed ones' innocents or whatever. Or actually, I guess the innocents would be the former magical people. Now, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So then the next page is a double spread.
Wow!
And, whoa! We see the neighborhood, and we see Hollow Manor like that. And it says, "This is nothing like the place I grew up in," and the whole neighborhood is crazy. We got next to them little chocolate house with candy canes and little lollipop gardening lawn ornaments, and we got next to them ice house. I wonder if Henry Jr. is like, "I'm gonna just put ice on that house." No, it wouldn't be him, but it'd be funny if it was. And then we have next to that a crazy clown head with a slide coming out of it, and then above that is a really tall haunted mansion-y looking house, and a flying car, a car with angel wings. And we also have a horse and buggy on the street, just cause. Why not? I don't know. So
I do enjoy, out of how crazy this image is, why is there just a duck?
I know, a duck and a man walking down the street. There's a duck. Yeah, I don't know. It's so crazy.
I didn't think things were crazy until I saw that duck, and I was like, "Wow, this world has gone insane."
Insane. So pretty much, this is all of the former mortals with magic, just putting their own spin, their own personalized decorations on their house with magic.
I do appreciate that this storyline comes later in season 9, because part of what people didn't like about season 8 of Buffy in the comics is they went straight for the crazy. They turned Dawn into a giant centaur. Is that when they have the legs of a horse?
Yeah. What?
She turned into a giant centaur. Things just went way out of whack because they could, because they didn't have to film it, so they could.
Yeah. But does that even make sense?
At least built up to it. I mean, it made sense. And I think the first time I read it, it was a little disarming. When I went back and watched it, because they have a motion comic of it, it wasn't as disarming. It made a little more sense, but it was just can you ease me into this next time? So at least Charm did that.
They did.
All right, so next up, back in the manor, we see Paige walking down the fake fucking stairs with Piper behind her. And Piper's saying, "I never expected nap time would include my husband." And she says, "Those wings are going to kill him if we don't find a way to put them back." And Paige says, "Yeah, Henry's been resting more too. I kind of remember when I first got my powers, I was kind of tired all the time too." And then she stops and goes, I miss my powers. And Piper says, I never thought I'd say this, but me too. And then Paige says, careful what you wish for.
That's like your favorite thing throughout all of the series. Between the series, the books, the comics, it's like a common theme of this careful what you wish for thing.
Yeah. Well, it is like one of those lessons. Like, I feel this is very Spider-Man, where you can't live with it, but you can't live without it.
Yeah.
And then we see a close-up of Piper, and she says, it's bad enough we lost our powers, but all the other changes that have been happening just add insult to injury. Just then, we hear a ding-dong, and she opens the door, and it's Elise holding flowers and a ball gag. And she says, I don't want to concern you. Oh, that's not a ball gag. That's a newspaper. Sorry, Kevin. My bad. I'm just used to our kinky Elise. So she says, I don't want to concern you, but there's like a weird lady hiding in your bushes. And then I love Piper's like totally nonplussed response. She goes, oh, the good old days when it was a demon hiding in our bushes.
I know. I miss those days. Now we get just some weird nosy neighbors.
Oh.
So the next page she comes out, she's like, hello, Mrs. Javits.
That's how she sounded in my head. She's that annoying, like, nosy Jewish neighbor.
Right. Well, it's funny because this is Mrs. Javits. It's actually a play off of Mrs. Kravitz, the nosy neighbor from Bewitched.
Oh, okay, that's funny. I didn't catch that.
Yeah. So instead, because in Bewitched, she was all trying to discover Samantha's secret. She's like, she's using magic, I know it. And here, she's like, oh, these people are not magical, I know it. They're trying to hide they're not magical. I'm gonna expose them. So it's like totally different. It's a fun little twist.
Yeah.
Abner! It's like, they're powerless, Abner! We're so much better than them. But yeah. She's like, but then she says, hello, Mrs. Javis. Everything okay? She's like, I was just wondering the same about you. I heard screaming. And she's like, oh, that was just Phoebe. We had a new baby delivered in the family. She's like, oh, a baby! Just, but she's like, a home birth nowadays? You know, they can just magically get that out of you at the hospital. The doctors are all magical now, you know. And then Piper's like, yeah, Phoebe's still a little nervous about these magic doctors because it's all so new. You know, I don't want anything going wrong. Piper's like, she hasn't embraced the magic like you. And this neighbor, she's wearing like this outfit straight out of like Super Mario, Magic Koopa. Like, she's like, you like my new outfit? It's the newest in Witch Chic. It's purple and sparkly and got some little crazy designs on it. Ooh, a robe. Because I'm magical now. This is what magic people wear.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to show it off.
Exactly. She's like, you know, none of you should be afraid to use your magic, dears. I know you should have it. You do have magic, don't you? Show me. Make your house pretty like everybody else's. Everyone else is doing their own personalizations. You need to make it unique. Give it a makeover. Oh, yes. And then she's like, Pepper's like, oh, well, keep that in mind. Gotta go. Bye.
I do really love Mrs. Javits. I could totally see the person doing this if people did get powers. It'd be that tacky neighbor who's like showing it off and in everybody's business.
Yeah.
Are you ready for this, Kevin? Are you ready? Here it comes.
Okay.
So back in the manor, Piper and Elise are talking, and Elise says, isn't she observant? And Piper says she's only gotten worse since she turned into Witcheroo.
Oh my goodness, there's the connection.
There's the connection. And then Piper says magic was so much easier when only a few people had it, and it was a secret. And Elise, I almost called her police. Elise. Elise says, yeah, it's all we're reporting on these days. It's like the biggest story to talk about. Some people even think this is the end of the world. And Piper's little concerned though. She's like, it might be because these people don't know how to use magic. They don't know about the rules and the repercussions. They don't know any of it. They're just using magic willy-nilly. And Elise says, still, there's no way to get your powers back. And Piper says, nothing. If we don't figure out how to fix this, I'm afraid of what will happen next. And then this last line is a little like random to me. Rather than being like, oh, I'm sorry, or oh, I understand. She goes, the new magic is magic gangs. That's a new thing.
Yeah.
Don't you know? Haven't you heard? And Piper says, magic gangs. And Elise says, yeah, groups of people with powers that complement each other, teaming up to make crime, Kevin.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Now,
They're becoming superhero squads, but evil superhero squads.
Yeah, basically. And this reminds me of like the Disney social clubs that some people call gangs. I'll have you know, Rachel and her cousin Jessie have already made their own gang. So I feel like it would work for a magic gang too.
Yeah.
They are Oogie's boys.
Oh my. Do they go around singing Kidnap a Santa Claus all the time?
Yeah, and if there's anyone dressed as Santa Claus, they beat them up.
Oh my god.
No, they haven't actually done anything. It's just like a maybe one day this thing will come into existence.
Yeah. So the next page we see Piper looking at the paper that Elise brought, and she's like, and I thought the government's magic squads are bad enough. So the government has their own magical teams now too. I guess that's what SWAT turned into or something. Like now we have magic and we're gonna go out on the hunt. But she tells Elise, you can go upstairs, Phoebe's expecting you. And Elise is like, I won't tell her about any of this craziness. And then she comes up to Phoebe, she puts the flowers she brought in a vase. And they barely fill up the vase because they're kind of like wilty flowers. She's like, I can have Coop bring a smaller vase. And she's like, no need. Because Elise has magic now. She's got phytokinesis, so she's like making the flowers bloom even more and stronger. She's like, oh, isn't that better?
I wish she used her magic on herself because she's looking a little haggard. The way they draw her.
Yeah.
So on the next page, Elise is looking at Parker and she's like, aren't you a little cutie? And Phoebe's kind of like reminiscing, like, I wish I had my powers. I mean, they weren't the most active, but I do miss them. And Elise is being hopeful. She's like, I'm sure the world will right itself soon. There's more important thing to focus on now. And Phoebe's kind of like, well, everything kind of sucks right now because not only did we lose our magic, but my book got pushed back because who wants to buy a book about love when everybody can just whip up a love spell? Elise is kind of like, well, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Stuff you don't think about.
Yeah.
That's totally what would happen.
Mm-hmm. People would totally use it for love and sex. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that would get dangerous because then people would like force people to have magic sex with them. And
and you have a whole new magic kink stuff. You know, it's. I mean, the whole world would change, just like with technology. It's just magic. It's like the new technology.
The two things I would do is I would magically clone myself and fuck myself, and then I would also turn myself into a woman and see what that feels like.
I know you've told me that fantasy before. I remember that.
I know.
Yeah, I would totally do the cloning one.
Okay. And then Phoebe doubles down. She's like, yeah, but love spells can be dangerous. It takes years to learn how to use it safely. And we get this very important line as Phoebe's grabbing one of the roses. She's like, now that we're cut off from the elders, the angels of destiny, and pretty much everyone else that enforces the magical rules, there's no one to maintain control. That's scary.
So it makes me think, like, do the elders and angels of destiny, are they still magical too? Or did it only affect stuff that were on the earth at that time? Or are they still magical and just cut off? That's what I don't remember. True. You know,
and then without the magic, they're all up on a cloud. They're all just going to suffocate because there's nothing magically holding them there.
Yeah, so I don't remember if it like affects the whole universe as a whole, or if it only affected Earth.
I wonder if, without magic, they probably can't get to Earth in order to enforce or talk to anyone. They're probably just stuck up there.
Yeah, everyone's separated.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Phoebe continues while she's looking at the flower, and she says, I don't even know what my daughter is. Was Parker born with magic, or is she powerless now, like her sister and cousins? Or wait,
Yeah, that's right.
or yeah, because she's saying, like, she was born into a world that's not magical. So does she have powers, but she's not showing them like her sister and cousins? Or is she just normal because she was born into this?
Right,
That's what
because
I got at it.
because all the Hollowell kids last issue they were all like doing all their magic around, like going crazy with their magic, and now all of them have no magic either.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if she has no magic right now, it means she's supposed to have magic. But if she does have magic now, it means she was born without magic. And so,
Yeah.
which one is she? It's crazy.
That is crazy. And then I feel like this last line is super important too, because Phoebe says, we've got to figure this out. I feel like we're running out of time. I feel like that's going to be important because all good stories have to have like some reason or something that's impending that they have to stop before.
Right. And then at the bottom of that, we see here, ding dong.
Ding dong.
And the next page, they open the door and it says, what in the world are you supposed to be? And then he's like this, and it's this short man in like some sports attire. He's wearing some like gym shorts with a Taurus on it and a R purple shirt and a hat. He's like, let me in. The neighbors are eyeing me up. They're creeping me out. He's like, you got to be careful with letting strangers into your house these days. And then Pepper's like, yeah, you're like the 20th random magical community member to show up on the doorstep. It's like, how did you know I'm magical? And Paige is just like, hey, who's the leprechaun? Like, it's pretty obvious.
That was great.
He's like, I guess my disguise wasn't really a disguise. And then Piper's like, yeah, how come the magical community only comes over to us when they need something? And he's like, I could say about the same thing about the charmed ones. It's like, ooh, touche, ooh,
touche.
But he's like, that doesn't matter anymore because there's no magic community anymore. The magical community is not magical, so it's just a community.
Yeah, scary.
Mm-hmm.
So on the next page, the conversation continues with Piper saying, let's cut to the chase. We don't know what happened. We're doing everything we can to fix it. But can you please tell your friends to stop showing up at our door because people be talking. Why are all these weird people showing up? And he says, in case you haven't noticed, we're all cut off. And this kind of gives us a hint, I think, about what happened to the elders maybe, because he says, everyone I know was over the rainbow when the magic switched. So I'm on my own here. Everybody else is cut off.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we might be right on that hypothesis, Kevin.
Yeah.
And then he turns to Paige and says, your government already knew about magic. Now that it's gone, they think we're the ones to blame. And Paige says, we've heard rumors.
And that kind of plays off of Hocus Pocus, when we knew the government was experimenting on the demons, and certain like Agent Keys with Sheridan because he kind of knew about magic. So yeah, the government was privy for a while now, and they were just trying to keep it under wraps. And
yeah, much like aliens, they've known for a long time.
Yeah.
And then Piper says we're doing everything we can, but we've lost our magic too. And the leprechaun says, did you know that there are magic squads rounding up anyone that doesn't have powers to find out what makes them different from the magic users? And Paige says, that's ridiculous. How can they do that? And Piper says this very grisly, very true, very sad thing. That's because there are fewer of us than them. And that's so true.
That now magic users are the majority. But it's all people that don't know how to use magic, that it just had it thrust upon them, and it's new and exciting to them, not people who know about it. And now the former magic people are victims. It's so crazy. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's just sad to me, though, how it's so true that whenever there's a minority, they're going to be pointed at and made to blame. And
exactly.
That's what we're seeing here.
I
do love that writing, though, because we're seeing a very like topical thing through Charmed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then Piper continues, this isn't good because if we get locked up, we're kind of stuck there. We have no magic to protect ourselves, no magic to fix the things that, and then Leprechaun's going on about like they're starting to experiment on people, doing like what they did with the aliens, dissecting people. Like, this is horrible. Scary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, stupid governments are like that. And Pepper's like, it's fear. They don't know where it came from, and they want to track it back to the source because, yeah, they want to understand it. They want to find a way to exploit it, really. And so, yeah, they're all just saying like they're defenseless and we don't know what to do. And then Paige is like, but we didn't do this. And then Piper's like, but I think I know who did. Rennick. Rennick's, he kidnapped Leo and he did something to him. We don't know what happened. And then he disappeared. So I'm sure he's behind this. And the Leprechaun's like, yeah, we're scared. We're alone. What are we going to do? But I'll be here for you if you need me. We're all going to try to work on this together, which is nice.
Yeah. Now, there's something on this next page that irks me, Kevin. Let's talk through this.
Okay.
So Piper's giving a note to the Leprechaun and says, go to this address. They're expecting you. You should be safe there. And the Leprechaun says, thank you. It's good to know that the Charmed Ones are on the case. Fuck you, Leprechaun. Just like a few years ago in season 8, the whole magic community turned their back on the Charmed Ones. And now you're like thanking her and relying on her. Fuck you. But I guess it has been a few years, so we're fine.
Right. And if we took Trick or Treat, the novel, as canon to this, we don't really, but they did make up in that one. It's the last novel.
Fine.
But yeah, it's still a little bit of estrangement. But he's also separated from his Leprechaun friends. He really has no one. So it makes sense that he would go to maybe... It is kind of shitty though. It was like, as long as I have my posse, I hate you, but since I'm alone, I'll come to you. It's just like a little too wishy-washy. Like, where are you really allegiance?
But I guess the bright side is at least the Charmed Ones are trusted again in the magic community, so we're back.
Yeah.
I love this next part because you don't see it on the panel, but Piper sees Mrs. Javits and she's like, bye-bye, cousin Seamus.
I wonder if that's like a nice like throwback to the actual Seamus, like, aw, Seamus.
Oh, I love Seamus. He was so cute.
Yeah, he's like, you're not him, but that's the first Leprechaun name I can think of. So there you go.
Yeah. That's what I got out of it. Like, that's just such a stereotypical like Leprechaun name that she just threw it out there.
Yeah.
And then she says, oh, hi, Mrs. Javits. Still enjoying that fresh air I see in our fucking bushes, you fucking weirdo. And then Piper goes back to Paige, Elise, Henry, and Coop and says, Mrs. Javits is going to be a problem. We don't need this nosy bitch neighbor right now when everyone's keeping an eye on everything we do because we're not magic. And then Paige says, is she really our biggest concern? And Coop says, it's all a concern. The balance of magic is so out of whack that it's going to have an effect or it's probably going to have an effect on the planet. And I also can't even talk to the Cupids at the temple for help. I'm completely cut off. And then Elise says, yeah, but it's not like you don't have a good team here. And Henry's kind of just like, what can we do? I'm basically like the only one who has magic here, and I hardly know how to use it.
Did you notice there's a little bit of an error on this page?
Is there?
Because Henry and Coop and the things they're saying are the wrong things. In the beginning, Coop was wearing the brown shirt and Henry was wearing the blue shirt. But now we have, if that's still in those things, then Henry is saying the Coop line and Coop is saying the Henry line. And so there's something that's switched. So it's not quite colored right.
You are so right. And that's why I think I was a little confused. Because in the beginning, it's Henry who transfigures the cigar, right? Into the teddy? Mm-hmm. Okay. And you're right. He is wearing blue right there.
Yeah, and Coop was the one with Phoebe, like, you're doing great, you're doing fine. And here, they're, like, saying the wrong thing.
Well, Kevin, it's obvious to me what happened. Coop and Henry slept together, and when they put their clothes back on, they switched shirts.
I mean, I'm not going to deny it. It's possible. Wishful thinking. Oh. But then the next page, we see Paige looking at the Book of Shadows, and it's completely blank. No spells, no magic, no nothing. She's like, how are we supposed to? We can't help anyone if we can't even help ourselves. That's so bad. And baby Henry's powers have emerged, and they're on the fritz, and then we lost everything. And then she's like, so Piper's like, so what do we do? Do you think it's time to give up and let Prue take over everything? So another clue that Prue is out there fighting the good fight. And Paige is like, yeah, I just haven't felt this helpless in a very long time.
Aww.
Which so sad. And Piper's like, yeah, I know what you mean. But then we see somebody say, we don't know who says it. I guess it's people coming down the stairs. But it says, just because you don't have magic doesn't mean you're powerless.
And then we see coming down the stairs is Phoebe, who suddenly has like no baby weight on her whatsoever. And we have the sexiest Leo I have ever seen, because not only does he have wings, he has just a vest on. Oh, show those guns, show those wings. Fuck me, Daddy Leo. I love it so much.
Guns out, wings out.
That's such a common saying. I hear that so much. And then I believe it's a Leo saying it, because he continues saying, you've always succeeded when you use what was available. Magic is still around you. You just have to find a way to kind of tap into it and use it. And Piper's like, you both should be in bed resting. Like, Phoebe just had a baby and your wings are sapping your life away slowly. But Phoebe says, how can we rest when the fucking doorbell keeps ringing? And then she looks and sees everybody gathered, and she says, looks like you have a war council down here. And Piper says, I guess you're right. We kind of do have a war council down here. And Leo's right, because we need to find a way to use magic again. We might have lost our active powers and our spell casting. So that actually answers my other question, if they could still even cast spells, which they can't.
Right.
But we've got friends and family, Kevin. We've got friends and family who still have magic. There's a formerly magical community out there that needs our help. Not to mention our current magical community that hasn't got a clue what the fuck they're doing with all these powers. We need to stop focusing on the three of us and use the resources available. But first, we have to do something about this house, because Mrs. Javits is fucking annoying.
So then the next page, they go outside, and Piper is guiding Elise. She's like, you're doing great, just a little bit more, Elise. And then we see Henry, he's doing magic, and so they're just doing magic on the house. He's like, I always thought the manor could use some gargoyles. And then they look at the house, and then all of a sudden Miss Javis come over. She's like, yoo-hoo! Neighbor! Hello! And she's like, see, I told you a little change would make all the difference in the world. And Pepper's like, and you were so right. Oh my goodness.
I do have to point out, like, this artist, is this the same artist as last issue?
No.
19? Okay.
No.
They have such a dynamic art. Like, there's like Leo with his wings. We've got like Henry using his like rainbowy fingers here. Like, there's so many pictures that I was like, oh, that's sexiest. Oh, that's most valuable. Like, this one I had to trim down which ones I wanted to use, because there's such good art.
Yeah, this is Dean Kotz. He's done several issues in the past, and his artwork is kind of hit and miss. Sometimes we like it, sometimes we don't. So
okay, so we see the manor. I mean, compared to the neighbors, it's still not the craziest house on the block, but it's different. They have gargoyles, they have plants popping up in random spots, and the stained glass windows are like gorgeous. Like, every window is now stained glass. And Mrs. Javits says, it's perfect. And just in time, people were starting to talk about how your house stood out. Not me, mind you, but... And then Piper's like, calm down, bitch. Like, we were just trying to test out our magic. Like, not everybody got these super cool magic powers. We also didn't know how we wanted the house to look. Like, we were getting there. Mm-hmm. And oh, and she ends with saying, "Not everyone has developed useful powers." And Mrs. Javits says, "Oh, I know. My husband only gets random glimpses of the future, and not even lottery numbers. Completely useless." What did you say?
Useless.
You
Completely useless. Who would want that power? Oh my
Yeah.
god.
They must be a sad individual to have that power. And then she says, "What did you say your power was again, Piper dear?
Show me your power.
What's your power?"
I need to know. On a big bada boom, tell me.
I love Mrs. Javits.
I know. And Piper's like, "Now you know, Mrs. Javits, it's not polite to ask a lady her age or her magical abilities." she's like, she's like, "Oh dear, you are so right. Oh, you know, don't mind me. Oh," she's like, "Did I just hear an explosion? An explosion in my house? I gotta go. The grandkids, making the booms today. God."
Making the booms. Is that a sex thing?
Maybe. The explosions everywhere. Oh, I can't stand it. And Piper's just thinking, she's like, "It was bad enough when we had to hide our magic from these people. Now we have to hide the fact that we don't have magic. This is so crazy. What kind of world am I living in?" And then she goes to Elise and Henry. She's like, "Thanks for your help with all this silliness. But now we gotta go do actual stuff that matters." We have to figure out what Rennick is up to before he continues with whatever plot he has, because we have no idea what his plan is, and we have no idea when he's going to attack. So, but I do know one thing. And then ...
And it continues with her saying he's got to be up to some serious evil. And we see he is. Rennick is relaxing in a hammock as She-Hulk and Nightcrawler are waiting on him.
Oh my gosh, this is so hot to me. Of course,
it really is.
Bisexual guy's dream right here. So
yeah, because we see like this blue-skinned man in tiny shorts like fanning Rennick as this green-skinned woman in also like a kind of
sarong
bathing suit sarong is feeding him grapes. Like, I knew Kevin would be like coming all over his comic on this page.
Mm-hmm. And we did hint with Paul that he was, a variation of sexual, like just loving all the peoples. And here we see that thing. Besides petting Leo's face and like chaining him to the wall with his legs spread open, now we have this lovely page. So
yeah, I remembered that conversation with Paul. So when I saw this, I was like, "Oh, this is what they were talking about."
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and that's the end. That's the issue. It says to be continued. So what were your overall thoughts on this one?
Even though this one is a little crazy with the switcheroo of magic, I really enjoyed it. I think this is a great jumping off point in not telling us exactly like what happened and leave us guessing, because by the end of it I still don't know what the fuck is happening.
Yeah,
but it's done in such a way that like I'm excited. I want to know what's happening. I like that they hint at Prue having powers, but we don't know exactly what's going on there yet. I like this idea of like there's a cost to using magic because you have to know the rules in order to do it successfully. So like I'm wondering what kind of messes the Charmed Sisters might have to clean up of people using their powers irresponsibly.
Yeah. It's bad enough they had to do with their kids doing the stuff, and now we got like they're crazy, random, stupid people. So,
yeah, now the whole world is their kids.
Yeah. But yeah, for sure. This was another great new start to the final story arc. And yeah, it's like they leave you with questions. They leave you with some time and gap. And this actually feels like a no-brainer storyline for Charmed. I'm kind of surprised it didn't happen in the series into this extreme because it seems to fit really well.
Yeah, and I like the way that Paul Ruditis, sorry, I had to go through a file of names. He kept Rennick as like this thread. So you're right, it doesn't come out of nowhere. Like Rennick's been there all along working towards something, and this is like the fruit of his labors. Literally, he's eating grapes.
Yeah, it's so funny because you have like before it starts with Nina, and you think she's going to be the one for all the seeds, but then halfway through the Nina, Rennick appears and he's doing things. It's like, what is going on? Who is the, I guess it changes. That's part of the exchange of power, I guess, but it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Anything canonical?
Canonical.
I just had the canonical thing within the issue about Coop and Henry switching places.
Yeah, and I didn't even notice that. You've got such a good eye sniper, but nothing else that I noticed.
Yeah. Next is tips for future white lighters.
Oh, we're really just messengers? Guides? Think of us as guardian angels for good witches.
Tips for future white lighters.
I was out being a force of good in the universe.
What's the moral of this one? It can go so many ways.
I know, this has so many. I would say, not to beat a dead horse, but be careful what you wish for, because you don't appreciate what you have until you lose it, and now they have a whole world to clean up without magic.
Yeah. Mine is fairly simple, too. I just said, life will throw you curveballs. It's inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Next is, onomatopoeia. I think we only had one. Ding dong.
I technically had two, because it said ding dong twice.
Which ding dong? Is it ding or is it dong?
Huh? Oh, well, it also had in the very beginning, we had the baby crying.
Oh, that's true.
Crying.
You got that. We got to do wah stuff like that too, I suppose. But
yeah,
ding dong's my favorite.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ding dong because it makes me want to eat one.
Yeah, and it has dingalings and dongs. It's very sexy.
It is. Oh my.
Oh my. What is your most valuable panel?
So, like I said earlier, this was a hard one for me, but I finally went with the picture of the upgraded manor, because I think that's such a cool idea that, as everything's changing, the manor as a character has also changed and evolved.
That's mine too.
I knew it.
I called it the Sanctum Sanctorum manor because it looks like Dr. Strange.
Does.
They got that going on. All right. Sexiest drawing. I think I know what yours is.
I think I know what yours is.
I know. Should we say each other's?
Okay.
All right. Yours is going to be Leo with his guns out, wings out, knocking down the stairs, the fake stairs.
That actually was really close to being it, but it's incorrect.
Ah!
That's a really good guess. Mine is actually the same as yours. It's this picture of Rennick getting pampered by a man and a female, especially because, Kevin, I will admit this to our listeners because I love you, spellworders. I've noticed with X-Men, I have this really weird thing with blue-skinned people. I think Nightcrawler is so sexy. I think Archangel is so sexy. I think Iceman is so sexy, and they all have that bluish skin color.
Yeah, and we do have that. He's a shirtless blue man with fanning.
Mm-hmm.
I wish the Green Lady, was topless too. That would have made it better, but alas. What can I do? But yeah, that's my sexiest drawing too. It's the most bisexual moment, and it makes me so happy.
Yeah, the minute I saw this page, I had to throw out Leo, even though he's very fucking sexy.
Yeah, it was a close call. See, you really had to make some tough choices. All right, issue ranking. What will you give this? Magically Delicious, Pretty Witchin', A Sorcerer's Apprentice, Disenchanting, or Vanquishable?
You know what? I don't give these out frivolously, but I'm going with Magically Delicious because this one really gets me excited to see the rest of the story. And like I said, I love the questions it brings up, and I love that bisexual Rennick is the big bad. I'm really feeling him as bad.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good issue. I mean, it's weird because it's not the most action heavy, but there's a lot of really good story moments, a lot of good thematic moments, and personal character moments. How they react to this happening to them and what they go with. And the neighbor is really fun. Like, we hate her, but she's so entertaining. I want to see more of her.
Oh my, how can you hate me? I'm everybody's friend.
I want her to go to her husband, Amna! Did you get what useless premonition did you get today?
I feel like he would have a slightly different name though too. He'd be Asna.
Yeah,
Asna.
But yeah, that's fine. I agree with everything you said. Because I know how crazy these go, I'm still gonna give it Pretty Witch. I'm not gonna give it quite Magically Delicious yet. Because I know things happen, but it's so good. I can't fault it for anything. Really enjoyable issue.
Yeah.
Oh, there's something here that kind of has to do with a future issue, but I'm going to spoil it for you just because I need to make it make sense in a continuity stance.
Okay.
In season 10, next season, there's a issue called Court of Love about Coop and Cupids, and he said if a Cupid is stripped of their powers, they immediately age, like age to the physical age they would be if they lived, that they would have lived if they lose the powers.
Oh.
But here, Coop has no powers and he didn't age, so there's just a little bit of an error there. Yeah. So that's it. Next is P is for Pole.
Piper.
You mean it's just you and Prue, huh?
Phoebe? Phoebe, you there?
And a big hello to you too, Penny.
Come on, Patty. The rest is up to them.
Paige. My name is Paige.
Another P, imagine that.
P is for Pole.
So my question for this week is, what would your house look like if you could display your magic on your house any way you want?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would make a straight out of fairy tale like castle, like Sleeping Beauty's castle moment with a moat, with like the whole like turrets and flags and everything.
That would be beautiful.
Would be beautiful.
You can make like Elsa's ice castle too, since you love ice so much, but it'd be cold.
Yeah, and I would every morning I would lay dead until Alan kisses me and wakes me from my sleep.
I'd probably make my house like a giant mountain type of thing with like a hot spring in it, so I can just like sit in there and have like hot water everywhere, and and like a nice like water slide, the waterfall, like wee. So that'd be like on the mountain, and then on top of the mountain would be the charmed house, just to live in.
Nice. Of course.
Because why not?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So that's the end. Tell us what's happening next issue.
Cool. So next issue we see, I think this is just a rando in a car. I can't tell if it's a sister or not, but a little kid is holding up a car one-handed with a lady in it looking like, what the fuck? And then we see in front of the car, there's another lady like talking to someone and like lightning striking. So it's just showing that magic has gone insane.
Yeah.
And issue 21 is called Reversal of Misfortune. And it says, with magic school's doors no longer open, Nox Academy is one of the few places on Earth that can provide a safe haven for those in need. Oh, Piper, Phoebe, and Paige must team with the staff to protect themselves and their friends from the government's modern-day witch hunt that has deemed anyone like them to be the enemy. So that, now that you think about it, Kevin, I think that's where they're sending the non-magical creatures. They're sending them to Nox Academy to keep them safe. But we already know that there are some bad
things
people
happening,
like Rennick who have infiltrated Nox Academy. Que interessant.
I know. What a cool final. This is so exciting. And we will finish the season next month. So next month, after this issue, we only have 4 issues left of the season. And we should be finishing it at the end of March. So
nice.
Yeah. I'm excited for that. But until then, tell everybody where they can find you.
if my calculations are correct in my head, I believe next Monday after you listen to this, I will be back from my France trip, and you can listen to how I enjoyed Paris Disney, amongst other Marvel, Star Wars, Disney news. You can also catch me on Once Upon a Cult, where we're continuing our last 10 episodes to 100, Kevin. To 100 episodes!
Whoa! Very cool, very fun, very exciting. I love that. Well, you can also find Sean and I on Solving for X. We're on the X-Men animated series from the 90s. It's all happening. And then you can find this podcast at Words of the Witches on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Words of Witches on Twitter. And be sure to rate and review on Apple and Spotify. Go to wordsofthewitches.threadless.com for cool merch. I'm trying to work on some new designs, actually. I want to do some of the comic book stuff we're doing here, so we'll see if I can get that going. Just in time for when we do the giveaway later in the year. And exciting.
Cool.
Bye, Spellworders. Thank you for listening. Your destiny still awaits.
Oh, yeah.